But I can't remember what your over and under was.
Shit, I don't know.
Dude, that just sounded ultra creepy.
My big long sigh.
Yeah, it was like, I'm behind you, gonna kill you, kind of. You're like,
yeah, that is kind of creepy. Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to the R&R Catcast, coming to you from the state of Washington, as always. I was representing Spokane over here. This is Ryan, joined by my other co-host, Ryan. How you doing, Thorny?
I'm good, and I want to expand upon our last point that we might be the fourth best Montana State Bobcat podcast, but I'm pretty sure we're the number one podcast produced in the state of Washington pertaining to Bobcat football.
Absolutely. And if there's any competitors out there, you're going down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on, buddy. What are you drinking tonight?
I have a Trader Joe's blonde ale. It's called the Audaciter, I think it's how you pronounce it. I have no idea. And it says it's an Abbey-style beer, which I also don't know what that means, but I assume it's like a Belgian beer. It's pretty good. 7.5% alcohol. It's kind of fruity, citrusy, maybe a hint of like a champagne in there. It's pretty good. I had no idea what I was getting into, but it tastes pretty good for a blonde. Not bad.
You don't necessarily pair a blonde with like 7.5% alcohol.
No, it's really smooth. You would never guess that there's that much alcohol content in there. And it came in a big bottle and had a little twist top cork on the top. So, Trader Joe's went all out on that one.
Fancy.
Yeah, the Montana folk might not even know what Trader Joe's is. There Trader Joe's in Montana?
That I'm not sure.
I have no idea. It's not that great.
But I was thinking back when you were introducing your beer last week. It just made me laugh when you were introducing. I think it was called the Darkness. So you were drinking.
Dark Darkness, which I'm still finishing off here. It's pretty good. I would get it again.
I listened back to our episode, and when you said that, I was just like laughing out loud. Just the name of that beer and the way you introduced it was just cracking me up.
Maybe that's part of the reason I bought it. Pretty entertaining name.
Yeah.
Well, what are you drinking here tonight, Ryan?
One of my favorite beers of all time, the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Just standard green can, or a green bottle in this case, but like I said, it's ubiquitous. You can find it everywhere, but it's just delicious. So
always a classic.
Yeah, it seems to be one of the beers I drink kind of like in celebration. Although I'm not celebrating anything tonight, it seems to be one of the things that I turn to like after like a good day of skiing or like a epic run or something like that, a good time with a friend. So
maybe a Bobcat victory.
There you
possibly.
Go. There you go.
See, that's why you're drinking it. You just didn't know it.
So tell us about that Bobcat victory.
Well, the Cats came out on fire. Took it to Cal Poly right off the start. Cats end up winning 49-42. Just throwing that out there right now. Cats, what do we rush? Let me get the stats here. Yeah, rushed for 430 yards, which I heard was like the fourth or fifth highest total in school history. A lot of that was in the first half. We ended up with like 23 first downs, I believe, which is like maybe the second straight game we've had 20 first downs, which is trending, as they like to say. We're trending in the right direction and actually getting some sustained drives. We were up 42-14 in the third quarter. And if you wouldn't guess that the score ended up being 49-42. And I'm pretty glad that game ended, because I think a few more minutes, 5 more minutes, and we might have a different outcome there. We were really struggling down the end. Clearly, Joe Protheroe and the Cal Poly rushing attack had just taken their toll on our defense. I know we were subbing out young guys there a little bit, but they were just running all over us there at the end. I don't think we would have stopped them. Again, I don't think we would have stopped them one more time if we had to. So glad the game ended when it did. Impressive performance by the offensive line. Isaiah and Fonzie had a career day. And that's all I really want to talk about from a statistical standpoint. So let's get into the details. What did you think of the game?
Well, I kept thinking about what you were just talking about on the fourth quarter and how Cal Poly was making a comeback. They obviously scored 21 points on us in the fourth quarter. I was really pissed off during the game. I mean, I remember texting you, and I was just, my wife came home from somewhere. I don't even remember, but she's like, "Why are you so mad you guys won?" And I was just like, well, we almost lost it at the end. But, having looked back after a couple of days now, I don't seem as mad. It seems to me like well, for one, I don't think in the Choate era we've ever been up that big before. And so I don't know if we knew how to handle it, kind of that gravity of that moment. But
the only other game I could think of that we had a pretty big lead was it North Dakota last year?
Mm-hmm. That's the one that came to my mind too.
Yeah.
But another thing that I kept thinking about is kind of what Choate said today is we probably just was getting a little bit tired of the Cal Poly option. It's almost like death by 1,000 paper cuts, and they're just going to keep coming at you, and sooner or later it's going to get you. And I think Coulter did a nice job of talking about it in his ESPN today. He's like, I can't remember the statistics he quoted, but MSU would have had, if they limited the big plays from Cal Poly, they might have cut the rushing in half. I think Cal Poly had 369 yards of rushing, and that's still, like he said, like 10 below their average. But you take away like Protheroe's 75-yard run late in the fourth quarter, and I think Jenkins had a 25-yard run maybe once or twice. And, that's 125 yards right there that you can just take off the board on 3 plays. So I don't know. I just think we just got tired there at the very end, and we didn't have the guys that needed to come in as far as like the second level of defense. I don't think they stepped up to the task as we needed it. So
no, they kind of faltered down at the end here. But let's kind of, I don't know, you want to kind of just run through the game a little chronologically here. So I always like to kind of do that. So we started off, opening possession. Is that 2 straight games where we scored on a touchdown on an opening possession?
Yeah, that's nice because we didn't give up. We in a previous podcast, you had talked about how we had given up a score and negated our 7-point home field advantage. So that has not been the case the last 2 weeks.
No, and I guess you think about that, we won by 7 points. So thank you, 7-point home field advantage, I guess. So we scored on. Did we end up punting in the first half? Like I'm having a hard time conjuring up this game, even though I watched the entire game here. But coming out against a team like Cal Poly, scoring 7 points, even better, 14 points, making a team like that play from behind, they kept doing what they always do. Give them credit because the Cal Poly, Tim Walsh is a disciplined enough team to know we're down 21 points. They're going to keep doing the same thing. Like they're not going to start throwing until they absolutely have to. It's still the first quarter. They're going to keep doing their stuff, and that paid dividends for them later because they kept pounding and pounding and pounding, chipping away, and then they really exploded there in the fourth quarter. But that's why it was so important to get up 14 points right off the bat, because I don't know the stats on Cal Poly. I assume a team like that probably does have a good fourth quarter track record. I don't have any stats to back that up, but it was really nice to see us come out of the gate and look so sharp again. I don't know if you credit Matt Miller on the game plan or calling in the middle, like during the game, but we just came out of the gate really hot, and it was really good to see.
We scored 14 points in the first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter, and 7 in the last quarter. I think that was largely due to the fact that Troy Anderson was a little hobbled up, and we pulled Alphonse at the very end, and I think we were just hanging on for that at that point.
I was looking at it, and Alphonse, his last carry came in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't even play in the fourth quarter. So I don't know what the score was when he came out, but it's interesting that Choate would make Alphonse had a career day. He had 160, 70. I don't know what the stats were by halftime. he was he was having just an amazing day, just long touchdown runs. And I've heard some criticism saying that he's not that fast, but I haven't seen him getting. I've seen anybody chase him down on a long run yet. So he's fast enough. He's plenty fast. But getting back to the point here, so Choate pulls him because he's hobbled. We don't think we need him. So why does he keep Troy Anderson in the game when Troy is hobbled and we probably don't need him either? Now I know he did it because Cal Poly kept getting closer than he felt like he was comfortable with, but 42-14, like how much more comfortable do you need to be before you pull your starting quarterback?
That's the only criticism I had of the entire game is I couldn't wrap my head around that. And I don't know if he thinks that Bowman couldn't manufacture the point. I mean, I think if we put Bowman back there, we just need to continue to hand off the ball, And I got really upset when we put Troy back in there, and then like one series in the fourth quarter, I believe, we go first down pass, and then we end up going 3 and out in that play calling section. Do you remember that series?
I do. Yeah, that's even more confounding. Is like, all right, well, you're leaving Troy in. I get it. We need to keep putting on points. We can't really let off the gas here. But then you do a pass play, and he looked pretty good out of the gate, but he looked pretty bad down the stretch throwing the ball. I think he threw one right in the dirt. He just didn't look so good. So I don't understand at that point why we weren't just running it against a defensive line that we had been dominating all day. So just give it to Logan Jones, bring in Carl Tucker, just keep pounding it. Like that was a strange play call. Like I'm not so opposed to the fact that he kept trying the game as much as I am as that. Just why did we even try and do anything different?
Well, that too. So that came, I believe, like we were up 21 points, 7 minutes left in the game. We're 49-28. Troy Anderson had just hobbled his way into a 49-yard touchdown. And by hobbled, I mean he was still faster than most everybody on the field with the bum.
Was that the sideline one where he ran up the sideline?
No, he went straight down the middle of the field.
Okay. I couldn't remember because I was listening to the presser today, or maybe it was the post-game presser with Troy Anderson, and he said he actually kind of tweaked himself celebrating that touchdown on the sideline where he jumped and like did that, the jumping celebration with Lance McCutcheon, and he came down and kind of tweaked his leg.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is kind of how it goes. But go ahead.
So it just flabbergasted me that after that we come out and then we go 3 and out starting with the pass. I'm like, why are we not trying to run out the clock at this point? And it just seemed to me like shades of the Weber game coming flooding back into my memory of going, why are we passing right here on first down with Troy Anderson on our 25-yard line when we have 7 and change left and we're up 21. We should be running and bleeding the clock on every possession, every snap of the ball. It made no sense. And so I was really ticked off at that point. I think that was the height of my rage was when that happened. So,
well, it was this game too. You had texted me like, Troy had a big rollout, took like a huge sack. Was that this game or was that the ISU game?
Oh, ISU, he took a big sack for sure.
But yeah, I mean, why do you have Troy Anderson 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage? Whether he's rolling out, whether it's a deep drop, like
we got in like a 2nd and 23.
Yeah, we can't overcome that kind of stuff. Like I like getting him out of the pocket, I like rolling him out, but not that deep. Or maybe that's Troy went further back than he was supposed to. I don't know, but it's just. With our offense, we just can't afford negative plays like ever. We just can't. So you can't have him going that far back and trying to have him do typical quarterback things like that.
Yeah, he's not a typical quarterback.
No, he's not.
He was taking like a 10-step drop, and then he was like one-on-one with the linebacker, and the linebacker got him. And I was like, you're Troy Anderson. You just just stiff arm him or do your Troy thing and get around him. Like,
is that the one where I texted you that, like, oh, Troy looked like he got cocky on that one?
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, yeah, this guy's not going to tackle me. He's like, oh, crap, he got me. He just looked like he was waiting way too long to the last second, and he actually got tackled. But,
I do have a critique on Troy right there. So in the times where he's obviously looking to pass, there's so many times when there's so much like field in front of him that his eyes are so fixed downfield. It seems that he's ignoring the fact that he could easily do a 30-yard gain just by galloping in like one direction or the other. It's Troy not being a true quarterback. I mean, God bless him for the services he's done for us this year, but it's just,
I didn't notice any this game. I noticed several in the ISU game, but I didn't really notice any plays like that. I mean, he only threw 7 passes or whatever all game. So I don't know. I didn't really notice that. I'm glad to see that we didn't run him to death though. Like, this is probably the least amount of carries he's had in a while, right?
For sure. I mean, why would you run him when Infonse is just tearing it up? I mean, that's just silly.
Yeah, he only had 7 carries, 104 yards on 7 carries, I might add. He actually upped his season average now because he averaged 14.9 yards a carry against Cal Poly. He's going to break the Montana State single season yards per carry record. And it's not like he just took 20 carries, got just enough to qualify for the stat. He's ran the ball quite a few times to get that statistic. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's been such a weird season to watch, and knowing now that coming to the grips that Troy's going to be our quarterback, that was really hard for me to that's a really hard pill for me to swallow. But now that I've swallowed it, I can appreciate more of what he is and what he brings to the table, and it is cool to see him get better week in and week out. But then again, last week, so he had some of his limitations with passing that reared its head again. And it just kind of reminds you of just how shortcoming our quarterback production has been this year. So,
well, I had wanted to, I think is a good time to talk about. So we always, you and I talk about things aren't as good as they seem. Things aren't as bad as they seem. You call it kind of fool's gold in some way. I kind of think our rushing performance here against Cal Poly was a little bit of fool's gold. The offensive line looked great. He had big holes. Afonso was just bursting through there, and there was nobody there. It's just, Cal Poly's rushing defense is atrocious. Their defensive line is small. We were ready for it. Choate admitted as much. He saw some stuff that he could exploit, and Poly never really adjusted, so we just did it over and over and over again until we decided to throw the ball at Troy Anderson for no apparent reason. But I digress. I just don't think it was really fun to watch, and it was a good feeling to see us just Ifonse, counter inside, little zone, just burst through the hole. Big, huge holes being opened up by those guys because Tuisa Sopo didn't play today. I think he might be nursing a little bit of an injury. So I think Zach Red stepped in there and they reshuffled a little bit. They looked good. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. It might be one of our best combinations of linemen that we have, because it's always hard to say. It seems to be always shuffling around, and you never know what the best combination of those guys is, because we have 6 or 7 guys who can really play, I think, right now. But I just don't think we can be that excited about that performance. And on the flip side, I don't think we can be that depressed about the defense faltering down at the end, because I know we were subbing guys in and out all game long, and we put in some backup guys there, and they got just torched real fast. So, I mean, that partially led to the fact that Troy had to stay in. But I think our defense on the whole played really well. I wouldn't be too concerned about that last quarter. How do you feel about both of those, offense, defense, good or bad?
So offense, one thing that I was really excited about on the offense is the way Infonse approaches his runs. And I hate the Steelers, but Le'Veon Bell is one of the best running backs I've seen. And if you watch him take the ball, he's slow at getting the handoff but he's in slow intentionally because he's waiting for the play to develop. And I saw that in Fonse this week. I was like, whoa, that's neat. He wasn't just attacking the ball from Troy's hand and then just, pushing it into the line. You see the pause there. He's seeing the field, and then he takes it, and then he picks a spot, and then goes. So I thought that was like, for a young guy, I thought that was really mature vision. And so I was really pleased with that.
I agree. No, he's definitely running way beyond his true freshman. He's only a true freshman. It's not even like a redshirt freshman. He's running beyond his years there, his patience and his vision.
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as the defense, as mad as I was on Saturday watching the fourth quarter, in hindsight, now sitting here on Monday night, I'm not nearly as mad. I think, looking back, we had the game in hand the whole time. A series of unfortunate events led to pretty much 21 points for Cal Poly within a short amount of time. I mean, if Padmas doesn't shank that punt on the very last possession we had, they don't score. That's a 14-point win for us. But he does, so there's those little things that just happens. And Jenkins, their quarterback, man, he had, when they got down to the red zone, I don't know if you noticed this, Thorny, when they were like first and goal or second and goal somewhere in there, he would just like take the handoff and he would shuffle his feet backwards a little bit. He would kind of like come back from the line, watch it open up, and then he would just go full steam ahead and get the touchdown. He was amazing on the goal line. It wasn't even the Protheroe show down there. It was the Jenkins show. I was super impressed with him.
Yeah, you want to talk about patience. He would just wait for all his blocks to develop, find a little hole, and just he's shifty. He's like a little point guard back there, just waiting for the play to develop and just picks a spot.
Yeah, I mean, he converted so many 3rd and 5s and 3rd and 6s for them. It was so frustrating at the time watching this. It seemed like every time we got them, not every time, that's a hyperbole, but, when we get them into a 3rd and long, man, they converted a lot of them. So
I just had a really terrifying thought. Can you imagine if Chris Murray had ended up at Cal Poly?
Him and Jenkins are essentially the same player.
They are similar, but Murray has much better open field skills.
Yeah, that's true.
Just thought, like he's going to take that little 10-yard gain that Jenkins might have and probably score like a 40-yard touchdown instead.
Do you think Murray's going to play for the Bobcats again?
I do. I don't know if he'll be quarterback. He's going to be on the team. I have faith that he's going to come back. I don't know why I think that. I'm probably have a kind of soft spot because I kind of went through some similar things where school just wasn't working out. Took some time off. Actually came back and did really well when I came back. So I people can do it. People can get out of school and come back and still succeed. And I think he's got the determination. I don't think he's going to let it bring him down. I don't know if he'll come back as a scholarship. He'll probably have to walk his way back on, and we might end up using him kind of like we're using Travis Johnson this year. There's also a very likely possibility that he comes in and wins a starting job again. Who knows? I think he'll be back.
I do too. I think we're going in a different direction next year with our quarterback. I think it's clearly going to be Rovig or Bowman in this point, and I think that's we want that play action type of quarterback with the ability to run downhill in the run game, and lining up Chris Murray on maybe the outside or in some diamond packages in the backfield with. Can you imagine that, or in the backfield with running back with Troy Anderson? So you could have, let's see, Rovig at your quarterback, diamond package. Let's go Logan Jones, Troy Anderson, or no, Infonse, Troy Anderson, and Chris Murray all in the same backfield.
That's a pretty enticing thing. Where did the diamond formation go this year? I really liked what we did last year out of the diamond formation.
Yeah, I might be wrong, and I hate saying that. I've been listening back a lot, and I say that a lot, but I think we've run it twice or a couple of times, a handful of times, but not nearly as much as we used to.
No, I remember Nick Lassane's big, huge that run he had at Cat Grizz a couple years ago, where he like just went down the left sideline and just like mowed over some Grizz defenders. That was out of the diamond formation. So anyway.
You know, you mentioned Travis Johnson, and I had in my notes that I just wanted to give that guy props. Coming into the season when we picked him up, you know, and it comes out on Skyline, and credit Coulter for all of his good work in Brooks. And that's something I want to get back to. Remind me to talk about Brooks a little bit later on, because I think his insights have been just spot on. But getting back to Johnson, when I saw that, you know, his arc of coming here from his story from Oregon, being just this highly touted player, and then he breaks his foot, I was just like, this guy's just going to flame out. I'm like, he was such a highly recruited player. He's not going to buy in. Like, I mean, he's probably just here to, you know, stopgap, you know, just wants to play football, but then breaks his foot, you know, early on. To see kind of how he has progressed, how he's such a team player, and has accepted his role and starting to flourish in his role, that is a huge surprise to me, because honestly, I kind of written him off early on. I just didn't think he would pan out, but very, very pleased. Him and Jacque Allen, I've been more surprised about than any players this season. So
yeah, kind of opposite ways to come to being impressed, because so Johnson, obviously a very high profile quarterback coming into Montana State. I had watched some of his highlights, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little concerned. Usually highlight packages look like the guy's a world beater, but I watched like his spring scrimmage at Oregon, the video on that. He was doing the same thing he kind of did here, just throwing balls in the dirt, kind of just not being real accurate. So I was a little hesitant when we signed him. He just broke his foot, which is a bummer. Never got to see him do a spring ball, and came in and got beat up by, as everyone likes to say, a linebacker. So you think like, all right, he's just going to ride the bench, maybe do a Brugman and transfer out, and just we'll never hear from him again. But give the guy credit. He just clearly wants to play football, and he's doing everything he can to get himself on the field. And I'd like to see him getting more touches. It was nice to see him get a little touchdown pass. Yeah, that was technically a touchdown pass to Logan Jones. So now he's tied on the year for Troy Anderson with one. They each have one touchdown pass. My bold prediction of a touchdown pass from Troy Anderson failed, but it would have been even more bold if I said Johnson, I guess. But you know, I'm impressed with his dedication and determination. I love that block. I texted you when it happened. I was like, holy cow, that was a great block by Johnson downfield to spring Afonso for that big long touchdown run.
I think that was the play of the game for me.
Yeah, I mean, I love those kind of efforts. I remember there was a few years ago as Weber State. It was the Sean Johnson era, and I think it may have been like T. Salanoa or one of those tight ends who just ran downfield, and like I think it was Elvis Akpla was streaking down the sideline, and just a block downfield just leveled him. You just love seeing that kind of stuff. You just love seeing the hustle plays to get the block, because it's just selfless, and you just gotta love it. But and Jacque, like you know, he was kind of, I think he was a 3-star recruit, so not even necessarily out of the realm of guys we would get, because we get plenty amount of 3-star recruit these days. Sat out a year. So you're wondering, like, well, he's dedicated. He wants to come play, but, you know, a guy transferred from Virginia Tech, can't even play, has to go do some of his own schooling. Like, how much of an impact is he going to make? And pretty much been the best safety we've had in a few years. Like, he's on another level. He's not real big necessarily. He's not real fast, but you can just tell he's a different kind of player than we're used to seeing in the Big Sky.
I think
a different kind of athlete.
Yeah. I think the thing that impresses me is from the outside, and obviously I'm not in the locker room, but they seem to have bought in to what it means to be a Montana State Bobcat. And that's just what, as an alum, as a man who's invested a lot of time into Montana State, that's what makes me most proud. And I think, gosh, when I listen to Choate, like on his pressers, I buy into Choate. That guy just excites me as a guy. I find his demeanor just to be calm, but at the same time, just powerful and exciting. And man, I could see why players would love to play for him. I keep thinking, like, I have 2 sons, and I'm like, man, if they were to grow up and play college football, I would love for them to play for a man like Jeff Choate.
It's even more impressive that they're buying into the culture as transfers, because I think you find that even less transfer comes in and just kind of use it as, all right, or even like, this isn't the level I'm used to playing at, so I'm not even going to give it my whole effort, or I'm just here to try and work my way into NFL tryout or something. But those 2 guys, they're playing like they've been here the whole time, and that they're just diehard Montana State guys, and you got to love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you want to spend any more time on the Cal Poly game? I was kind of wondering if we wanted to kind of grade out any positions. I thought the secondary, I want to talk a little bit about secondary, I guess. We don't have to grade their position, but secondary didn't play as well as I was hoping they would. Cal Poly dropped a touchdown pass. Like the secondary was burned, and they hit him right in the hands, and he dropped it. Do you remember that play?
Yeah, but Thorny, what are you expecting? I mean, they run the same couple plays over and over, and they're keying in on the run, they're keying in on the run, they're keying in on the run. It's what they're going to do. I mean, this happens all the time when we play Cal Poly. You can't just stick to those guys as glue because you have to be there on run support. It's not surprising that the Cal Poly receivers were open. It doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I thought we had the best dudes we've had in the secondary for man-to-man coverage, and I thought we could just even limit any of those kinds of plays. Like, you take that play away, like, or if you give them that play, and it's a different outcome, it's a different game, different stat line. So and he was wide open by a mile. I'm just saying, like, I thought we could shut it down a little bit better than we did. Not that we did bad necessarily. I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more out of there. I thought the defensive line played great, but gosh, our outside linebackers are just killing us.
So, okay, and that's what I was thinking. I was just waiting for you to pause there because I think it's the outside linebackers that caused us to have our corners and our nickelbacks, or we didn't even play any nickelbacks, but our corners, our secondary to have the run support that we needed to. So if we had stronger, I mean, if we had Mac Bignell, he covered so many. He was one of the best players I've ever seen. But if we had players anywhere close to Bignell's status, I think you're looking at a secondary who has different assignments in that game.
True. No, we just don't have. It's like we don't even. It would be nice to have a playmaker of Bignell's caliber, but he's not a generational player necessarily, but guys like those don't come along that often.
Yeah,
and we don't even have like a production out of the guys that we need them to have anywhere close. Like, we don't need, like I said, that playmaker is going to get 10 tackles for loss out of that position, but we can't have guys just getting torched all over the place who you can't even really rely on to be in run support or to be in their gaps, like where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And teams have been picking on them all year, and they're just going to continue to do so. It's like, I expect Northern Colorado to do it. I expect Montana to do it. I just don't know how at this point, there's nothing you can really do. Get Chapman back as healthy as he can. That's what else can you do? You just got to play with the guys you have left. I mean, you could always move a really good quarterback into the linebacker position, but that's crazy talk.
Yeah, we don't want to put our quarterback in the linebacker position. We would never do something like that.
No, you don't ever want to switch positions, except you do. Choate does it all the time.
What do you think about that? So, want to circle back around to that comment I had about Brooks Duanis. And so, you and I, completely amateurs, conjecturing amateur thoughts on football. And as fans. But if you really want to listen to good analysis, listen to Brooks and Coulter on their Big Sky breakdown.
Highly recommend.
And Brooks is in the last two weeks has not hold back, and I love it. And to the point where an outside viewer might think he's being overly critical. I think it's just brute honesty, and a lot of things he's saying, not everything, but a lot of things he's saying I really agree on. And one of the things he mentioned last week was Choate's propensity to play players in multiple positions and not allowing them to, keep in a position where they can learn it and grow and develop. I was interested on what you thought about that.
Well, we've kind of touched on player development. At least I think we have, maybe not on the podcast, but I know we've talked on the phone or texted about it before. And I don't know if we ever really pinpointed any sort of reason why. It's like the player development, like, has he taken a guy who's just a scrawny little walk-on and taken him to like an All-American status? Like, that's an extreme example. But have you seen players just get better and better and better? Like, in some cases, I mean, I don't know. I just haven't seen the player development that you would think you'd want to see. And could that be part of the reason? Is it because he keeps swapping guys out because he thinks everybody, as Brooks says, is plug and play? Like, even on the offensive line, we keep switching guys out. Like, left guard, right tackle, those are very different positions. You can't just expect a guy to. I guess Jason McIndoe was also huge on being that he's a big fan of having a guy who could play any position on the line. So I guess we've been rolling that for a while. I don't know. That's just, I see that point, and I can't really argue it. Like, you want a guy who has natural talent at a position, who's like built like that position, just to focus on that position and be the best that position he can be, and not just plugging him in where we need because we have a hole for some reason, because a recruiting gap or an injury or something.
Well, I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle between plug and play and situational football. And what I mean by that is when Choate came in, I don't want to say the cupboards were bare from the Ash era, but it kind of felt like it was, and we played a lot of young guys. And I just think when you're playing a lot of young guys and you're depending on a lot of young guys, you're doing anything you really can to field a competitive team. And so what does he go out and do? He knows what he has. And so he goes out and recruits, as Joe would say, all the high school quarterbacks in the world, and tries to develop them into these positional players. Well, where are they going to develop if they played quarterback? I guess you need to try them out in a little bit. What I'm getting to is I think we have a little bit more stability now. And I think you will start to see Choate play those players in their design positions and not see as much changing within positions. And I will think you will start to see more of these players develop. Point in case, like Keaton Anderson, he's starting to come on. I think Brandon Conkle is another guy you can look at who has developed into a really nice player. So I don't think it's absent of examples for when we talk about has he developed a player. I just think we're such a young program underneath him that we haven't seen the fruits of his labor yet.
No, and that's a good point. I could see that side of the argument, but he needs to, outside of player development, he needs to figure out what we're going to be on the offensive side of the ball. And that goes back to player development too. Like, we need to have specialists on that side, on the offensive line, quarterback, receivers. Like, Travis Johnson's doing admirably at receiver, but you don't think we could find a guy who's honed his craft at the wide receiver position a little bit better than Travis Johnson? It's just like, and that all goes back to the culture. Like, what are we trying to do on offense? We can't even get players in the position that they're should be playing or were trained to play for their whole careers up until this point. We need to figure out what we're doing on offense. I think a lot of that stems on that.
No doubt.
Like, do you think Choate wants Troy Anderson at quarterback? I don't, but
no, I 100% don't think he does. And going forward next year, I'm 100% convinced Troy Anderson will not play quarterback.
Me too. Agreed.
No matter what anybody says on the board and whatever, like, screw that. Like, I don't believe that for 1 second in my life. And another thing I'm going to predict is I think Matt Miller is going to be our offensive coordinator going forward, unless he has 2 terrible games in the next 2 games that we're playing. Given what I've seen and just the way Choate thinks of Matt Miller, I think he's going to be it.
I think you're right. Unless Choate can use his connections to land like a fairly high-profile, experienced offensive coordinator, I think, barring, like you said, any just horrible performances on offense for the remainder of the season, which I don't see, I wouldn't be surprised to see Miller be the guy next year. So, and I've been impressed, and I've seen some growth as our play calling goes, but we're still doing some head scratching things, like you said, having Troy Anderson throw that pass, having him take some deep drops. So it's like why can't? There's no reason that we shouldn't be just rushing on first down pretty much most of the time with how our offense is built.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's not exciting football, but 2nd and 7 is better than 2nd and 12.
But for every one of those 2 or 3 head scratching plays that has come underneath the Matt Miller offense, there's been way more positive plays and sequences that I've been really impressed by. Game planning for a quarterback, when you have a quarterback like Troy Anderson, is very. I would assume it's hard, because what is Troy's skills except for running the ball? How do you get him into passing plays? And I think Matt Miller has done a nice job getting some easy passing plays for him to go. And we've seen the reemergence of our tight ends, Curtis Amos and Wilson Brott. Did I say the right one? Is it Mitch?
You did? Yeah. Mitch is the lineman.
Okay.
Wilson's the, yeah. Yeah, he had a nice catch for a rumble as he was like tripping forward. I thought he was going to get just crushed because he basically was tripping into 2 defenders and got leveled. But yes, he caught a ball. So yeah, it's nice to see a tight end more involved.
Shout out to Curtis Amos. He's my favorite player on this team.
Probably the most unheralded player. Like, he's gotten a few shout outs on the board, but he's out there just destroying people week after week.
Gosh, he's so fun to watch. The guy, just when he comes off the fullback position, just tearing out, and I love watching him just block guys. He's just. I was hoping so much he would have caught that ball last week, but
I know if any guy on the offense deserves to catch a touchdown, like, come on, Curtis Amos, get that guy a touchdown. But
right,
it's probably not going to happen. He's just going to have to be happy, just mowing people over, paving the way for others.
Doing it with a smile on his face.
That's right.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about Northern Colorado, and then let's get into the bold predictions and over and unders. All right.
Sounds good.
So one of the things I was looking at Northern Colorado, I went through all their games yesterday, and the thing that stood out to me is they have not had a bye week. We're their last game.
Yeah. So this, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and they have their bye the last week of the season. I was like, how shitty is that? Like, how do you get in that position? Is that who makes that decision? That made no sense to me.
No, I think the Big Sky schedules the conference schedule. I don't know. I don't know how it works, to be honest with you, but I don't know if I've ever seen that before, or I can't recall any times where a team's just, well, we're not playing the last week of the season. It's bye week. Go home.
It's almost like, we're going to schedule this because we think we're going into the playoffs. And you're like, then you realize you're Northern Colorado.
Yeah, no, if you're a top 10 team, that's pretty sweet. Get a few weeks off before the playoffs. Yeah, Northern Colorado not really the strategy there. Just get the guys home in time for finals or whatever.
Well, they're coming in with a record of 2-8. They did have 2 back-to-back wins, one against Northern Arizona, which they hung it to them 42-14. And then
they had like 12 guys suspended for that game or something like that.
Who, Northern Arizona or Northern Colorado?
I think they both did. I think both teams suspended a whole bunch of players. It was like the suspension bowl.
Okay, so then throw that one out the window. But then before that, they beat a somewhat decent Portland State team, 35. Oh, no, excuse me. That was the loss, 35-14. No, they beat Southern Utah, probably the worst team in the conference.
How did Southern Utah go from – didn't they win the conference last year just to being complete a mess? I don't understand that big a drop-off. That goes back to the very first the bye week episode we have Driscoll Cat, like culture program. That's not a program. That's just they hit gold with a few players, and now you're seeing the result of those players leaving the program.
That's a tough one though, because you're dealing with the Mormon mission complex with like, are you going to get guys back? And so I don't know how maybe go look at Weber. How are they doing it? Look at BYU, but that's a weird one to me.
It can be done, but clearly not Southern Utah right now. But yeah, Northern Colorado has won 2 out of their last 3 games, right?
Yeah. So and the thing that always makes me,
it's the first 2 of the season.
It makes me almost laugh now is like listening to Choate. Every time he introduces the upcoming opponent, you would think he would be talking about like NDSU or like the New England Patriots, like perennial just powerhouses. Because every time if you just like come in right before he says the team's name and you just listen to him describe the players, you're like, there's no way we can win this game. Like they're obviously elite in every position.
He said Northern Colorado is one of the best front sevens that they've faced all year.
Yeah. And that might be true. I have no clue, but he says that I think like all the time. Like
he does.
Every week he's like, oh my gosh. And you look at their linemen, you look at their linebacker cores, you look at their safeties, and he'll start listing the numbers. And he's just like geeked out on every one of these players, and he knows all their stats. But man, he admittedly tells himself, he goes, okay, I by Monday, I'm convinced there's no way we can beat these guys. By middle of the week,
I know.
I think we might have a chance. But that surely comes across in his Monday pressers. It just makes me laugh.
Well, yeah, so I don't know. This to me kind of has the makings of a classic trap game.
Don't say it. I don't even believe it. You take that back.
It's their last game of the season, so they're going to want to go out with a win. You never want to talk about it, and then everyone says they're not going to. But Cat Grizz is the following week. It's pretty easy to overlook a team that's 2-8 or wherever they are right now. So I don't know. I think that their defense kind of matches our offense. Their rushing defense is their if you can call it a strength. They're only 7th in rushing defense, but I did look at the stats. They've given up the most rushing touchdowns in the conference, 30. They've given up 30 rushing touchdowns, which is not good. That's bad.
That's bad.
They've also given up 43 sacks. 43. Do you know what the second worst team's sack total is? 22. So they've been sacked twice as much as the next worst team to have been sacked. That was an awkward statement, but you know what I mean.
I do.
So I like I don't know. Their rushing defense is going to be their strength. If Choate says that their front 7 is their strength, I could see us having a little bit harder time than we'd like to see us moving the ball. Like it's easy to look at a team and just think they're hot garbage, but football is all about matchups, and they're I would almost call them like a Weber light in how they are defensively.
Well, I like that analogy, Weber light. So one thing that does make me think this is going to be a trap game is the fact that if we win this game, we will have the first winning record we will have had in 3 years. And
that's a monkey on the back, though. Those aren't always easy to get off.
well, here's the deal. In the presser today, Choate was fully aware of that, and he said, somebody asked him about this being a trap game, and he said no. He's like, these guys have my full attention, and don't you once think that this won't be brought up with the team. He's like, this will be, I can't remember what he said, but it's going to be at a point of importance to the team this week. So I'm not too worried about that. I don't think it's going to be trap game like we had to worry with Kramer's teams and with the Ash teams. So I'm not too worried about this one.
That's true. I mean, traditionally, at least under Choate, we've beaten pretty much everyone that we were expected to beat for the most part. So I don't know. You never know. I don't think it's going to be a loss. I wanted to touch on this. So Idaho State, Cal Poly, 2 straight games where we've given up a 90-yard plus touchdown drive. We got to stop. We can't let Northern Colorado do that because they throw the ball, so it's less, and they don't run it very well, so it's maybe less likely to happen. But we gotta clamp down a few more times than that. And I don't want to see Northern Colorado sustain any big long drives like that eat up the clock, 90 yards touchdown. We can't let that happen.
No, it just seems like when that happens too, like we just go in this lull for a good quarter, after that. It just seems like we don't bounce back from these like negative plays very often. That's typified this team this year for me, is like when bad things happen, it kind of snowballs and it takes us a while to break out of it. We don't have I don't know if it's mental fortitude, or it just seems typical for us this year.
No, and you can look back to the Weber game where after Jenks had that injury, they came out and just marched right down the field, like just throwing the ball right all over us. Like what happened to us? Like it's like the defense just kind of, I don't want to say they take some plays off, but they just kind of stop making plays there for a little bit. And that's happened a few times this year where we had those lapses. So we need the defense to be focused for 4 quarters. They need to bring their A game the whole time. Do you know anything about Tyrell Thomas's status? Did he play Cal Poly?
No, he was on street clothes.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's coming back because Northern Colorado throws the ball. And part of that is because they end up getting down by 3 scores real fast. And that's another thing. We can't let them – we got to jump out on them too, because if they get into more kind of what they want to do, run the ball, we're going to be in for a slugfest. So we want to force them to throw the ball because passing defense has been good for us. So we need all of our guys out there. And I have faith that we can do okay without Thomas, but I sure like to see him back in there just for us and for him, because that guy's a competitor too, and he wants to be out there. I haven't heard the status on him.
Yeah. It seems like our offense is one of our worst factors for our defense, because we seem to rip off these amazing, huge plays that end up in scoring and so fast. Like Troy Anderson 60-yard run, or in Fonse in the last week. But we need to sustain drives. It's nice to have these runs. If we can outrun them, that's fine. But, these 10, 12 play drives is something we need to, especially, not to look forward, but, going next week against the Grizzlies, that's going to be key in that kind of game. So,
no, it's been kind of a problem for pretty much since Choate got here, but that's more of a product of like Chris Murray and Troy Anderson type quarterbacks than I think it is anything else. But
absolutely,
yeah, we either seem to score a 7-yard touchdown or go 3 and out. It's gotten better. Like I said, this is our second straight week of 20 plus first downs, which is bringing our average up to like 17.9 or something. So, we're turning in the right direction. But we had 13, what the live stats program calls chunk plays. So like a rushing yard is 10 yards or more, and a passing chunk play is 15 yards or more. So we had 11 rushing ones and 2 passing ones. So we had 13 like big, pretty decent sized plays. Like we're explosive, but The problem is that's all we are. It's like hit or miss. But I do like how Miller's trying to manage that. I do like how we're trying to keep things more sustained. But like you said, we can't. That is a problem for our defense. Our time of possession kind of hurts us because we score a touchdown and the defense was just out there, just forced a punt. 3 plays later, we score a touchdown. Defense is right back out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard, and we have we have a lot better depth than we've had. So maybe, but it seems like even we're running out of gas at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's wrap up that and let's move into our bold predictions and over-unders.
Do you think we win?
Just flat out, do you think we win against?
Well, I know you don't like to give any score predictions, superstitions, and all.
I do think we win against Northern Colorado. It does have that element of having a trap game, so I'm not 100% confident, but I think we do win. I think the fact that we could secure a winning season will be of importance to this team, this culture, and I think that's the prize we're going for. So I think we win this weekend.
All right. Well, I do too. And speaking of scoring, we had asked Bobcat Nation if anyone wanted to submit questions for an over and under or a bold prediction. And Montana Bob had set the over and under. I believe he means the total scoring over and under at 58 points. He has MSU 48, Northern Colorado 10. Over and under 58 points total scored. What do you think?
I'm going to go over.
Over 58 total points.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am going to go under on that, actually.
Okay.
I'm going to go under. That's quite a bit of points. I don't know if we'll get in quite the shootout we were just in with a triple option team. That's kind of funny. Okay. And let's see. What else do we got here? We have an over and under from 91 Cat alum. He wants to know the number of Bobcat players to take a snap. He said it at 2.5. We had 4 against Cal Poly, right?
So I'm pretty sure Johnson will take a snap. I'm pretty certain. Obviously Troy Anderson's going to take a snap. Kevin Cassis might take a snap.
He was the 4th. That's right. He did take a snap. He's a Wildcat.
So if we get up, Bowman's going to go in. So yeah, I'm going over on that one.
I'm going to go over as well, but I'm more afraid it's going to happen because Troy has to come out of the game.
Okay.
Because he gets dinged up. I don't know if it's necessarily because we're going to be cruising and we're going to arrest Troy and everyone's going to be like, yeah, Casey Bowman, finally, yeah. I think it's going to be like, oh, Troy pulled a hamstring again. Time to bring in whoever the backup is du jour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point.
So either way, over.
All right.
So, and then Cletus has a bold prediction that the Cats break 50 points. 50 points scored. Just the Bobcats.
So that's just a prediction, or?
Yeah, I'm on to the bold prediction now.
Okay.
Done with the over and unders from the board.
Okay. My bold prediction is that a tight end catches a TD. A TD, a touchdown.
Yeah, no. But who throws it?
I don't care. Either Curtis Amos or Wilson Brott. They're going to catch one.
Because my bold prediction from last week is that Troy throws a touchdown pass, which he did not. Who else is going to throw a touchdown pass to a tight end? Like Johnson got a touchdown pass because he did that little pass sweep thing. I don't really know what that play is called, but he just like throw it, like just toss it forward, and the guy catches it on the run. So I don't know who else throws a touchdown pass to a tight end.
It's kind of crazy to think, but honestly, in my heart, it's equal opportunity for Kevin Cassis and Troy Anderson to throw a touchdown.
I'm almost more inclined to think Casey Bowman will throw a touchdown than Troy Anderson at this point.
There you go. And then my over-under was point margin. Over-under for final point margin of 14.
What? Over.
So you think, given the fact that you stated that you think we'll win, we're going to win by more than 14 points?
Oh, the margin of victory.
Yeah, I guess I should have. Yeah, I'd say that wrong.
Okay. let me rethink that. I was like, of course the game's going to have more than 14 points. What's wrong with you? Okay. Over.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll win by more than 14.
What do you got?
All right. Well, I'm going to go back to what I had been talking about. Over and under, I guess I said it at 0.5. 90-yard touchdown drives given up by the defense. 0 or more than 0?
I'm going to go more than 0.
Think we'll give up another 90-yarder?
Yeah, I do.
I think we do too. As sad as that is, even against a team like Northern Colorado, I still think that we had that one lapse. Maybe it's later in the game when the game's already in hand, but I think it does happen. My bold prediction is Ifonse goes over 150.
You call that a bold prediction?
Yeah.
That's weak sauce.
I think we'll be up, and I don't think I'll need to go for 150. But no. Okay, that's not a very good one. How about we throw for over 100 yards?
Ooh. Now there's a bold prediction.
That's pretty bold. We end up with like 54 against Cal Poly.
Okay, I like that.
No, we did 77. I'm sorry. Troy had 54. The other quarterbacks had like 33 on 3 attempts.
I do like that one.
Yeah, the last one was too easy. You're right. That was too easy.
Well, we're coming down to it, man. It's the last 2 games of the season. Maybe not. Who knows? It'll be an outsider shot to get 7-4 and get into playoffs, but I don't even want to speak about that now. All right, man. Well, I think this one's a wrap. So,
yeah, I mean, kind of what we expect against Cal Poly. Offense did good. Defense did a little bit worse, but the victory's a victory. Not a whole lot to talk about from that game. I think we'll get the win against Northern Colorado and set up a big stage for Cat Chris.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.